"Don't kill me, human. I'll warm your bed," the alien warrior pleaded on her knees. The night was quiet, too quiet. Dax held his old rifle tightly, eyes fixed on the motion sensor blinking red. Something had crossed the fence, and whatever it moved fast, like a shadow in the wind. He wasn't a soldier anymore. But the instincts were still sharp. Years ago, he left the battlefield, came to this forgotten colony planet to live in peace. But tonight, peace had vanished. His boots crunched softly on dry leaves as he moved through the trees. Then he saw. It's something crouching near his water tank. Tall, glowing blue eyes, armored chest, and strange markings down her arms. Not human. Definitely not. She turned and ran, faster than any animal he'd ever seen. Dax didn't think. He chased. Through bushes, over rocks until finally click, one of his traps snapped shut. An electric net fired from the ground. The figure fell, struggled for a moment, then stopped. He approached slowly, rifle raised. The figure groaned a voice, soft but rough, spoke in his language. "Don't kill me, human ... I'll warm your bed." Dax froze. She lay there breathing hard, eyes glowing faintly in the dark. Her skin was a soft gray blue. Her lips split as she coughed. She wasn't just an alien, she was hurt, starving and afraid. "I don't want a bed warmer," Dax said coldly. "I want answers." He kicked away her weapon, a strange curved blade with plasma lines. She didn't resist, didn't speak again, just looked at him like a defeated animal. For a long moment, silence ruled the forest. Then he sighed, lowered his rifle slightly. "Get up," he ordered. "You run again, I shoot." She stood slowly, her body trembling, even injured. She was taller than him. He noticed the blood on her leg, the cracked armor plate on her back, but she said nothing, not a word. Just followed him through the trees, inside his cabin. He kept her hands tied, gave her water and dry rations. She sat on the floor like a prisoner, staring into the fire. Hours passed before she finally spoke. "I am Kelara," she said, her voice tired. "Zithari warrior." "I didn't ask," Dax replied, watching her from his chair. But deep inside, questions burned. Zithari were known across the stars, proud, ruthless, undefeated. So why was one alone, injured, and begging a human for mercy? "You were spying on me?" he asked. Kelara shook her head slowly. "No, I was hiding." "Hiding from what?" She looked into the flames, silent again. He threw more wood into the fire. The sparks danced upward. "You said you'd warm my bed," he said without emotion. "Why?" Kelara didn't flinch. "Because that's what humans want from captured aliens." Dax's jaw tightened. "That's not what I want." "Then kill me," she whispered. Her voice was full of shame, but also something else, defiance. "I will not beg again," she added. Looking up at him directly, Dax stood, walked toward her slowly. He didn't see a warrior anymore. He saw someone broken, cast out. He tossed a blanket to her. "Sleep, you're not dying tonight." Kelara looked at the blanket like it was made of fire, no chains. "I'm not scared of you," he said. "You can't walk straight." She nodded, pulled the blanket around her shoulders. Before closing her eyes, she said, "I won't kill you, human ... Not even if I get strong again." Dax didn't answer, but that night, he sat by the window with his rifle, staring at the stars. Something strange was happening. She was supposed to be his enemy, but she had cried, bled, begged, and slept under his roof. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but he knew one thing. Kelara was no ordinary enemy, and whatever storm had brought her to his doorstep wasn't over yet. She didn't fight, didn't threaten, only offered warmth in exchange for mercy. Morning came slowly, golden light slipping through the cracks in the wooden cabin walls. Dax was already awake, sitting at the table, staring at the alien across from him. Kelara hadn't moved much during the night. She had slept curled up on the floor, arms wrapped around the blanket like a child. He had expected her to escape, or attack, or scream in the night, but she didn't. She simply slept, like someone who hadn't rested in weeks. Now, She opened her eyes and sat up. Blinking slowly, "You're still here," Dax said, pouring water into a metal cup. "I said I would not run," she replied softly. Her voice was clearer now, less broken, more calm. He placed the cup near her. "Drink, then talk," Kelara obeyed, sipping the water slowly. She looked around the room's simple furniture. Old weapons on the wall, tools on the counter. This human was no soldier anymore, but he had not forgotten how to survive. And now he had taken in as Zithari his enemy. Dax sat down. "Why were you out there alone?" Kelara's jaw tensed. "I was abandoned." "Why?" She hesitated, then answered, "Because I refused an order." Dax leaned forward, curious now. "What kind of order?" Kelara looked away, voice low. "We found a human research camp, unarmed, full of civilians. I was told to kill them all." She paused, the silence thick like smoke. "I said no," she continued. "I was punished, labeled a traitor. Left behind." Dax was quiet for a moment. He didn't expect this. He thought all Zithari were proud killers, merciless and cold. But now, one sat across from him, shaking, remembering the lives she had saved. "I thought your kind saw mercy as weakness," he said. Kelara looked at him with tired eyes. "It is in Zithari law." "But not in your heart?" "No," she whispered. "Not anymore." Dax stood up, walked to the counter, and returned with a small metal plate. On it warm flatbread and cooked roots, nothing fancy, but enough. She looked surprised. "You feed prisoners?" "I feed people," he replied, placing the plate in front of her. Kelara ate slowly, with small bites, her hands shaking slightly. He watched her in silence, then finally asked, "Why did you offer yourself to me like that? Warm your bed." "That's not something you say by mistake." Kelara stopped chewing, swallowed hard, then nodded. "In Zithari war doctrine, captured warriors become property," she said, voice like stone. "Most are used for labor, some for pleasure." Dax's hands clenched into fists under the table. "I thought," she continued, "if I offered myself before you took it, you might show mercy. But I see now. You are not like the others." He stood, turned his back for a moment, breathing slowly. "This wasn't just war anymore. This was trauma, pain, survival. You're not a slave," he said firmly. "Not here." Kelara lowered her head, and for the first time, she looked relieved. "Then what am I?" she asked, not as a challenge, but as someone truly lost. Dax didn't answer right away. He walked to the door, opened it. The morning breeze blowing in softly. "You can go," he said. "Right now, if you want." She looked up sharply. "No walls, no fences, no guns aimed at your back," he added. "I don't keep prisoners, only guests." Kelara stared at the open door, then at the trees beyond. The wind touched her face, but she didn't move. "I have nowhere to go," she said finally. "Then stay," Dax said. "Help around the farm, live in peace." Kelara's eyes narrowed. "You trust me that easily?" "No," he said simply. "But I believe in giving chances." She stood slowly, her movements still stiff. She walked to the door, looked outside, then back at him. "If I stay, I'll work," she said. "Clean, cook, protect the land. No need to warm any beds," he added with a dry smile. Kelara nodded once. Understood. That day, she began helping picking fruit, carrying wood, feeding animals. She didn't complain, didn't hide, and Dax, from a distance, watched her carefully, a warrior, now working with bare hands, an enemy, now cooking over his fire, a stranger, now sharing his roof. That night, found her sitting outside, staring at the stars. "The sky looks different from here," she said softly. "Different, good or bad?" "Different." "Safe." Dax sat beside her, neither speaking for a long while. Above them, the stars moved silently, but both of them knew danger was still out there, and peace, no matter how small, could never last forever. She was trained to kill humans, but today, she cooked breakfast instead. The smell of cooked root vegetables filled the cabin. Dax blinked in confusion as he entered the kitchen. There Kelara stood, still in her cracked armor, carefully turning food over a small iron pan. Her movements were precise, almost ritual-like. "You're up early," he said, rubbing sleep from his eyes. Kelara didn't look at him. "Early rising is part of Zathari discipline. You cook too?" "I observed your method yesterday," she replied, then added with the faintest hint of pride, "I improved it." He took a bite, blinked, and smiled. She wasn't wrong, it actually tasted good, better than his usual flavorless ration stew. "You're full of surprises," he muttered. She glanced at him briefly. "You haven't seen anything yet." Later that day, Dax handed her a small axe. "Chop some firewood," he said. "Just take it easy on the blade." Kelara took the tool but stared at it like it was a child's toy. "May I show you how Zathari train with weapons?" Dax raised an eyebrow. "With an axe?" She smiled, not the soft kind, but the sharp one, the kind warriors show before battle. "Watch." She stepped into the clearing, her posture straight. Then in one smooth motion, she spun, flipped the axe, and brought it down on a log with perfect control. Not just one swing, she moved like lightning, blending spins, strikes, and footwork into a deadly dance. Dax watched, impressed, as log after log split clean in two. "You're showing off," he said finally. Kelara stopped, exhaled, and gave him a sideways look. "I'm proving something," she said. "I may cook and clean, but I am still a warrior." "I believe you," Dax replied, picking up the split wood. "But here, you don't have to prove anything to me." Just then, a deep growl echoed from the trees. Dax froze. "That's not thunder." Kelara turned, muscles tense. "Wild stalker beast." The creature burst from the bush tall as a car, with two heads and black fangs. Dax raised his rifle, but it jammed just a click, no fire. The beast lunged. Kelara didn't hesitate. She ran straight at it. No weapons, just her body and fury. She leapt, grabbed one of its heads, and twisted midair, landing behind it. With a sharp cry, she drove her elbow into its spine, sending it crashing to the ground. Dax grabbed a branch and swung hard, useless, but it distracted the second head. Kelara spun back in, grabbed the broken axe handle, and drove it straight into the creature's eye. The beast screamed, flailed, then fell still. Silence returned, only broken by the sound of their heavy breathing. "You okay?" he asked, still holding the useless branch. Kelara stood over the beast, blood on her face. "I told you, I am still a warrior." Then, her expression softened. "But thank you for trying to help." That night, the fire between them felt warmer than before. Dax handed her a clean cloth and a small bottle. For the wounds, Kelara gently cleaned the scratches on her arms, her sharp features lit by the firelight. "You didn't run," he said. "You stayed and fought for me." Kelara looked at him. "You gave me food, shelter, kindness. In my culture," she continued, "a warrior must protect what they owe a debt to." Dax stared into the fire, remembering the war, the cold silence of orders. "How many humans have you killed?" he asked without looking at her. Kelara didn't answer right away. "Enough to be hated by your kind," she said, voice low, "but less than I was ordered to." Dax nodded slowly. They were both weapons, shaped by different wars, now trying to live in peace. She turned to him, her voice quieter. "In Zathari tradition, warriors do not share fire with strangers." "Then what does this mean?" he asked, motioning to the flames between them. Kelara hesitated, then spoke softly. "It means I no longer see you as an enemy." The fire crackled between them, two broken souls sitting on opposite sides. But somehow, closer than before. Outside, the night was full of sounds. Inside, the silence was full of unspoken truths. Kelara finally lay down, not on the floor, but near the hearth. Dax didn't stop her. He sat back in his chair, eyes on the flames. Something had changed. She was no longer just a captured alien, and he was no longer just a lonely man with an old rifle. Whatever they were, now it was new, dangerous, and maybe even beautiful. But far above them, in the stars, something else was watching. And peace was never meant to last forever. When the sky lit up, Kelara turned pale. Her people had returned. It began with a strange hum, faint at first, like wind slipping through metal. But Dax knew that sound. It wasn't the wind. It was power, electric, alien, dangerous. He stepped outside, shielding his eyes from the morning sun. A soft pulse rippled through the air, then a shadow moved across the sky. Something large, silver, and silent glided above the clouds. Kelara ran out beside him, her eyes wide, her body frozen. "No," she whispered. "It's them." Dax didn't ask who he already knew. The Zithari. They had come back. Kelara's hands trembled as she stared up at the sky. "That's a patrol scout," she said. "They scan for deserters, traitors." "Like me." Dax grabbed her arm, pulled her inside. "Pack what you can," he said. "We're leaving." "No." She shook her head quickly. "If they see us running, they'll chase." "They won't care about me," Dax replied. "But?" Kelara's expression said otherwise. "You sheltered me. You'll be branded a sympathizer." Dax sighed. "Then we hide." They moved fast. Kelara ripped the armor plates off her chest, tossed away the glowing knife. She changed into human clothes, loose, dusty, simple. Her sharp features still gave her away, but from a distance. She looked like a tall settler woman. They smeared dirt on her face, hid the shimmer in her hair with a scarf, and when the patrol ship landed half a mile away, Dax grabbed a shovel and began digging near the garden. Kelara stood beside him with a basket of vegetables, pretending to be a helper. Every second felt like a blade against the skin. Then the door opened. A Zithari officer stepped out, flanked by 2 guards, all in black armor, their helmets shining like glass. The officer's voice boomed. "You, human, identify yourself." Dax stood tall, his grip on the shovel firm. "Name's Dax Varn," he replied. "Ex-soldier, retired, farmer now." The officer's eyes scanned him, then flicked to Kelara. "And her?" "She's a worker," Dax replied calmly. "Strong arms, quiet mouth." Kelara stayed still, her eyes lowered, not daring to speak. The officer stepped closer, frowning. "Zithari don't work for humans," he said. "This one does." Dax answered, took her in from the outer settlements, near the cliffs. The officer walked in a slow circle around her, sniffing the air like a predator. Kelara didn't move, not even when he leaned in close. "Raise your eyes," the officer commanded. Kelara obeyed, her face still calm, but Dax saw her fingers twitch. She was ready to fight, if needed. Her eyes met the officer's, then dropped again. "Strange," the officer muttered. "She smells like us, but—" "Wrong." Then he stepped back, turning to his guards. "She's been claimed," he said coldly. "Leave her." Dax blinked, confused. "Claimed?" The officer sneered. "Some humans like trophies, Zithari taken in. Domesticated." He spat the word like poison. "She's yours, by your law, not ours," without another word. The patrol turned and left. The ship rose slowly, its engines roaring to life. Then it vanished into the clouds, leaving behind silence and shame. Inside the cabin, Kelara tore off the scarf and threw it aside. Her hands were shaking now, her chest rising fast. "They thought you owned me," she said, her voice cracking. "They think I let you use me." "I didn't say anything like that," Dax replied quietly. "You didn't have to," she snapped. "It's what they saw." She sat down hard, arms wrapped around herself. "I said I would never kneel again," she whispered. "But today I did." Dax crouched beside her. "You survived," he said gently. "That matters more." Kelara looked at him, her eyes full of fire and tears. "You don't understand," she said. "To them, I am dead now, a warrior. Dies with honor. But I live with shame." He didn't speak for a while. The fire crackled in the hearth, shadows dancing on the walls. Then Dax stood, grabbed his coat, and tossed another log into the fire. "Then live in shame," he said. Live and eat and laugh and scream and fight. Die with honor if you must, but not today. Kelara didn't answer, but her eyes softened just a little that night. She didn't sleep by the fire. She stood outside under the stars, watching the sky. Dax joined her quietly, a cup of tea in hand. They'll come back, she said. I know, he replied. She turned toward him, and when they do. Dax took a sip, then said simply, let them come. She was supposed to be his prisoner, so why did she kiss him first? The days passed quietly, but the silence between Dax and Kelara grew louder. They didn't speak much, but their eyes said more than words ever could. She worked harder then. Before cutting trees, fixing the roof, chasing wild beasts away. But every time she got close to him, she pulled away, and Dax noticed. She didn't sit by the fire anymore. She sat by the window, always watching the stars, like she was waiting for something or someone to return. Dax pretended not to care. But at night, when he closed his eyes, he could still see her face. That look she gave when the patrol ship left. That mix of pride and pain. One evening, after a long day of clearing rocks from the field, Kelara entered the cabin holding something. Wrapped in cloth. What's that? Dax asked. She gently unwrapped it, a small metal box. Round and warm, a Zathari bond flame, she said softly. My last keepsake. She placed it on the table and pressed a button. A small blue fire appeared inside the glass, flickering. Gently, in my culture, she said. This flame is shared between warriors who trust each other with their lives. Dax stared at it, unsure what to say. I was saving it for someone else, she added, but now. They're gone. They sat in silence, the glow of the bond flame casting soft light over the walls. Kelara didn't look at him. She stared at the fire, her voice barely a whisper. I didn't want to feel anything here, she said, but I do. Dax looked at her, surprised. You mean, I don't know what it is. She interrupted. I was trained to hate humans, but when you look at me, I forget why. She stood, walked to the door, and stopped with her hand on the frame. I should leave soon, she said. I'm becoming weak. Dax stood too, his voice steady but his chest heavy. You're not weak, he said. You're healing. Kelara turned around, her eyes bright in the dim light. Then why do I want to kiss you? He didn't answer, not with words. He crossed the room, slowly, step by step, stopped just in front of her. They looked at each other, saying nothing. Then Kelara leaned forward and kissed him, not with fire or hunger, but with a softness that surprised them both. It was brief, uncertain, but it changed everything. She stepped back, blinking. I'm sorry, she said, her voice trembling. I thought, maybe. You didn't imagine it, Dax said quietly. I felt it too. She looked at him, unsure. I don't want to be your weakness. You're not, he said. You're the first thing in years that made me feel alive. Kelara sat down slowly, hands in her lap. I don't know what comes next, she whispered. Dax smiled faintly. Me neither. That night, they didn't speak much, but she sat beside him by the fire again. This time, close enough that their shoulders touched. They didn't hold hands, they didn't kiss again, but something had changed between them. Something real. A storm howled outside later that night. Kelara woke to thunder. She walked into Dax's room without a word. He sat up, surprised. Can I stay here? She asked softly. I don't want dreams tonight. He nodded, moved over. She lay beside him, not touching, just near. I'm not afraid of the thunder. She whispered. I know, he said, but it's okay if you were. She closed her eyes. For the first time since she landed on this planet, she felt safe. Outside, the storm raged. Inside, there was warmth, but far beyond their little cabin, in the black silence of space, another ship received a signal, coordinates, blinking. Red, something was coming, and peace never lasts long in a galaxy built on war. Asterisk, they came looking for, now they wanted the human too. The bond flame still glowed on the table. Kelara stared at it as the morning light poured through the windows. Dax was outside repairing the solar panels, but her mind was somewhere else, far away in space, in her past, in danger. She had kissed him. She had shared her people's sacred fire with him. Now she wasn't just hiding. She was falling, but something inside her twisted with worry. Peace never lasted, not for someone like her. Then it came. The first warning, a silent drone, black as shadow, hovering just above the treetops. Kelara spotted it first, and her blood went cold. She ran outside, pointing at the sky. "Dax!" she shouted. "They found me." He looked up and saw it too. Then another appeared, and another. "They're scanning the land," Kelara said. "Not patrols this time, trackers." Dax cursed under his breath. "How did they find us?" Kelara turned to him, eyes sharp. "I think I sent a signal without knowing it." She picked up the bond flame, heart sinking. "This glows in Zithari frequencies. Any warship could trace it." She dropped it to the ground and smashed it under her boot. The flame flickered, then died too. Late, the sky rumbled. A sleek warship broke through the clouds, descending fast. Not as big as the last one, but deadlier. Kelara's voice dropped. "It's a hunter ship." She grabbed Dax by the arm. "We have to move now." They fled into the woods, carrying only what they could. Dax had a pack with food and water. Kelara had nothing, just speed, memory, and rage. They camped deep in the canyon that night, hidden by the tall cliffs. Dax lit a fire only briefly, long enough to warm the air. Then they sat in the dark, quiet and alert. "Tell me what we're dealing with," he said. Kelara nodded. "The hunter unit follows only one rule: kill or retrieve. They don't speak, don't stop, and don't leave unless someone dies. Can we fight them?" Dax asked. Kelara hesitated. "Not head on, but we can survive." He looked at her, amazed. "You're not afraid?" "I am," she said softly. "But I've been hunted before. This time, I'm not alone." They moved again. At dawn, using rivers to mask their trail, Kelara taught Dax how to blend into nature, how to move without sound, how to watch the sky for signs, how to disappear. Every day they survived felt like a miracle, and every night they lay closer. Under the trees, he held her when she trembled. She whispered old Zithari lullabies when he couldn't sleep. Then it happened. A flash in the sky, a sonic boom too close. "They found us," Kelara said. Pulling him behind the rocks, the hunter squad landed only meters away. 3 Zithari. In full battle armor, one of them scanned the area with glowing eyes. "They smell us," Kelara whispered. "We fight now or they take us." Dax looked at her. "I have traps nearby, old ones." "Good," she said, pulling off her shirt to reveal her broken armor still beneath. "It's time I reminded them who I am." They split up. Dax circled behind while Kelara stepped into the open. The hunter leader turned sharply. "Kelara Zin," he growled. "You are marked for execution." She smiled coldly. "Then come do it," he charged. Plasma blade ready, but her foot caught a tripwire, triggering an explosion of smoke and flash. Dax fired a hidden pulse shot, striking the second hunter. In the back, Kelara moved like lightning, grabbing the leader's wrist, twisting until the blade dropped. Then she slammed her knee into his chest, knocking him back. The third hunter tried to flank her, but Dax tackled him from behind. Together, they overwhelmed the squad, wounded, exhausted, but alive. When the last hunter fell, groaning in the dirt, Kelara stood over him. She didn't finish him. She looked to Dax and said, "Let them go. They will crawl back and tell the others we are not easy prey." That night, they returned to the cabin, burned, tired, bleeding but not broken. Inside, Kelara sat beside the fire again. She looked at Dax, her eyes softer now. "Why do you still help me?" she asked. Dax stared at the flames. "Because you're not just a soldier. You're someone who fought to be free, and that matters." Kelara reached for his hand, not as a warrior, not as a prisoner, but as someone who finally had someone to trust. Outside, the stars returned to the sky, but not all were peaceful. Some were moving again, bringing more fire. The final battle hadn't come yet, but they would be ready. together. With death at their door, she whispered again, "If we die, let me be yours one last time." The warning came too late. A coded signal broke through the atmosphere, sharp, cold, and unmistakable. Kalara's eyes went wide the moment she heard. That sound," she said. "It means execution fleet." Dax stood at the cabin window, his face calm but his fists clenched. "How many ships?" Kalara whispered, "One is enough, but they never send just one." The Zithari had returned, not hunters, not scouts judges, ships that didn't take prisoners, ships that erased the past with fire. "We can't run this time, Kalara." Said, turning to him. "We stay," Dax replied. "We fight." They prepared together. Dax rigged traps across the field, pressure bombs, laser snares, EMP darts. Kalara rebuilt parts of her old armor, using scrap and welding tools. She found her old blade beneath the floorboards and lit its plasma edge again. That night, the stars above shimmered red. The sky pulsed with the slow descent of the Zithari flagship. It didn't speak. It simply opened its doors, and hell came walking. Dozens of black-armored elites spread across the ground. Kalara and Dax stood side by side at the cabin steps. The wind howled, carrying the scent of metal and war. "Remember," Kalara said, "we don't have to win. We just have to survive." The first wave attacked fast, silent, ruthless. Traps exploded across the field, tossing bodies like leaves. Dax fired pulse shots from the rooftop. Kalara moved like a spirit, dancing through fire, blade flashing with deadly grace. But they kept coming. Dax was hit in the shoulder, falling behind the door. Kalara screamed his name and tore through the last wave to reach him. He lay bleeding, vision fading. "You have to run," he gasped. She shook her head, tears in her eyes. "I ran once," she said. "Not again." She held him close, his blood on her hands. The final Zithari commander stepped forward, taller than the others, silver armor, red eyes, a killer's voice. "Kalara," he called, "surrender, and I will grant him a quick death." She stood slowly, face hard. Then, to Dax's shock, she dropped her weapon, walked toward the commander with hands raised. But as she moved, she spoke not to him, but to Dax. "If we die, let me be yours one last time." The commander raised his weapon, but before he fired, Kalara pulled a hidden charge from her belt. She slammed it to the ground, releasing a blinding pulse. Smoke and fire surged through the air. In that chaos, she grabbed Dax and dragged him to the tunnel beneath the cabin. They barely made it as the upper floor exploded, trapping the invaders in flames. Hours passed, silence returned. Smoke curled through the night. The Zithari ships retreated, too many dead, too much resistance. They left a burned shell behind, but no bodies, because Dax and Kalara lived, scarred, wounded, but alive. Days later, a new shelter stood where the cabin once did, smaller, quieter, but strong. Dax's arm was still in a sling. Kalara had bruises and burns, but her eyes still burned bright. They sat outside one evening, watching the sunset. No words spoken, just breath and warmth. Finally, Kalara turned to him. "I broke every code of my people," she said. "I betrayed my oath, my army, my past." Dax looked at her gently. "But you kept your soul." She leaned her head against his shoulder. "I am yours now, not by surrender, but by choice." He smiled faintly. Then, "Stay," he said. "Stay with me, Kalara." And she did, not as a prisoner, not as a refugee, not even as a warrior, but as something more, something stronger, a survivor, a protector, a woman who had loved in the middle of war, and a human who dared to love her back. The stars above them no longer brought fear. They brought silence, peace, and maybe, just maybe, a new beginning.